when it's come to Freedom Founders, obviously this is scaled up to try to bring opportunities to a larger group. Well, the responsibility burden increases tremendously, because even though I'm not a fiduciary, I can't guarantee any returns. I feel a responsibility to bring the same level of discernment and underwriting, vetting that I would want for myself, because I invest the same way. So the hurdles, yes, to be able to bring opportunities to our group are significant, and they've grown even more significant over the last couple of years as we gain more experience in doing things in investments as a community, leveraging the strength of our group that a solo person couldn't do. I can bring opportunities to our group that I couldn't get myself because I don't have that much capital.
Right.
No one's interested in David Phelps if I've got $100,000 to put in, but if there's several $1 million because other people will go in, well, now we can attract stronger players, stronger operators in the marketplace. And I think that's what gives us a big advantage, is we have more to look at, and we have the strength to do deeper vetting, deeper underwriting that a single person, an individual investor, couldn't do. Welcome back. This is week number 2 of my conversation with Dr. Mike Abernathy. If you missed last week, you'll definitely want to go back and catch the beginning of our conversation. This week, we'll dig in a little bit deeper into some of the dynamics of practice ownership, the financial independence, and investment outside of one's practice, looking at dynamics of the practice ownership today, the changes that have evolved over many, many years, where things are going now. We'll also look at legacy and lifelong learning, along with community support and networking, the role of communities that provide us the ability to navigate through some of the tumultuous times that we're in right now. It's very, very important to find those relationships, and Mike and I speak about that at great length. Enjoy this conversation.
You know, we're sitting here looking back, right? I sold my main practice, and I have owned other practices, and you sold that and didn't go back to dental school. You still have your dental license, and I still have my dental license. So we're still, it's like being Marines, right? Once a dentist, always a dentist. Okay.
Still hanging on.
Okay, so, you know, I'm looking at this some ways as maybe a learning experience for some doctors. And you mentioned limiting beliefs. And I think the strange thing about a limiting belief, no matter what that belief is, if you hold it long enough, it becomes truth to you. And when it's truth, it's very, very difficult to go against something you truly have experienced and think that's really truth. So I have kind of a question for you, because I told you that, you know, when I heard you first talk, and, you know, 8, 10, whenever it was, the first one, and then I came back to the next one, and the crowds grew, and you know, I looked at your track record and stuff, and it started making sense that it wasn't going to be a pile of money, that I needed to take whatever money I had and be wise about how I invested that, so it would give me more opportunities in the future. You're having people come to you, maybe they're not dentists, a lot of them are, but they're younger, let's say 40-ish, they're in their 50s, some are in their 60s. Yeah. And of course, I'll bet 10% of the people that have come into Freedom Founders, I actually had coached them at some point. So I kind of knew their history, not how they invested, not what their life suck looked like, what they were, right. You know, but I did see what they did on a business side. I'm just kind of curious, because I think everybody's scared about killing that golden goose. No matter how much you don't like it, how much you're tired of maintaining it, how uncertain the future is in dentistry, and how more competitive or difficult it is, and the fact that, gosh, if you're in the same location you were for 20 years, everything's changed around you. But you still see this use before date, whatever that is. It could be, I'd always thought I would retire, and you know, we've gone from 62 to 71.3 years average retirement for a dentist now, and still, even at the 71.3, they still are not financially independent. I think a lot of folks, a lot of dentists, tend to look at this, if they hear you talk, and go, okay, it's too early for me to sell a practice or something. Maybe they don't sell a practice. Or it's too late for me. So how do you answer that? I mean, because I would think, I'm 74 now, so if I were still working, and, you know, I'd be going, gosh, I'm a little old to change the spots, and, you know, it's been okay, and maybe I just cut back and sell that second home, and I'll figure out some way to watch my money disappear in the stock market or something, So
Yeah.
what would you tell?
Well, yeah, it's two different people. So let's take the one who's in the age bracket of the 60s to the 70s. So for some of them, if they're not willing to learn something new, and some aren't, some are just burned out and don't
Right.
want to do it,
Right.
and they're just going to have to make a decision to go with what they've got and do the best they can. There's others that are lifelong learners, and something new actually gives them an aspiration to take what they've done in dentistry all these years and been something they've enjoyed learning about, the technology, the advances, and now move it to something that's different for them. Many of them being in the financial mode, looking at how to make money work for them is different. So it can work for them. So I think a lot of it has to do with attitude and where they are. That those enders, I call them just enders. They're that
Okay.
end.
Yeah.
And so it's both sides. And some knock on the door, and I'm very clear about if you're not really wanting to come and learn, because people think, well, is this just another place where I can give someone my money to have them go take care of it for me? I say, no, that's not what I do. That's not about what I do at all.
Right.
If you're going to do this, we're going to educate you, just like you have an education that you relied on for many years on your active income side.
Right.
We're going to educate you on how to make your money work for you. There's some activity involved here. That's why I say there's some activity. This is not just we'll take your money and we'll give you XYZ returns. That's just not how the market works. So they have to decide that. The younger group is a little bit different. I think a lot of times they feel like they have time. Some of them, I think, feel that they're smart enough that they can figure this out, especially when we've had a long span of a kind of a bull market. Coming out of 2008, the markets have just kind of gone up. And even today, they're still going up. I think for a lot of false reasons. I think there's a lot in the marketplace today that's going to. But people grab onto that and think, well, I've been so smart, or maybe my advisor's been so smart, and everything's been good.
Yeah.
And so why should I do anything different? Again, not wanting to change. I get it. If something's been working to a point, it's hard to change. It's like, well, no, I don't want to change that. Why would I change? But just as soon as we see the next correction, and we will have when we know it's the cycles, then that's when a lot of people say, oh my gosh, I wish I had done something different. I wish I was learning something different. So that's what I see. And right now we're still in that time in the market where people are feeling still like they're pretty good, but some are a little bit more aware that the market is probably a little frothy and maybe it's not going to be like it has been. It's two different. Does that give you some insight?
Yeah, kind of. But I think if we looked at dentists today, they have some options. Let's say they're, no matter whether they're 40 or they're 60 or 70, and they're looking out, they could retire in practice. I mean, like maybe cut back to, because I think retirement's kind of having the money and the time to do whatever you want, and they could do that, because I see a lot of doctors that they don't have hobbies, they don't have things that really inspire them.
So they need to keep doing something.
Well, they need to do something.
Yeah.
And in the older group, I think the challenge is, I keep thinking of my dad. So he comes with all these attorneys. I remember he came in, he was getting his teeth cleaned, and I never really checked him. I mean, the hygienist kind of checked him, and I always come in and say, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" And pretend that I was interested in his teeth. Okay, and he goes, "Well, I need to tell you something." I went, "Okay," and I think he was 79, something like that, 80. And he goes, "I'm going to retire on Friday." Now he'd cut back a little bit, but he still had the law firm and had 30 or 40 attorneys working with him and stuff like that. And I went, and I didn't, and this may just be me. I didn't say congratulations. The first thing that came to mind, I said, "Have you told Mom?" and without him missing a beat, he goes, "Yep, she said I could come home anytime I wanted to after 5."
After 5,
okay,
yeah.
so a transition isn't just selling a practice. It isn't just getting passive income in real estate or something like that. It's really closing a door on one thing and opening another door, and that next, because I know you talk about that a lot, this next is real important. I find a lot of doctors have never really taken the time to think through that next, and it's not going to be bass fishing and playing golf or just traveling.
That's right.
And so doctors have, they could keep working in a diminished capacity and have some income, and then maybe they'd take the rest. And then you have other doctors that could sell to, well, I'm not going to sell to those darn DSOs. Okay, they're going to sell to an independent buyer, and then they're gone. And then I think those doctors are facing kind of the challenge of, okay, if I sell this, I want to create a legacy. I want my staff to have a job. I want my patients taken care of a really good doctor. And, I could mentor that doctor, which I see is after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the doctor having a $700,000-800,000 note that's costing them $12,000 a month, and the overhead that used to look good now is at 75%, and the people that come in that this doctor is staying around to help them only want her or him to do that work. It could have been money they put in their pocket. It takes about 4 weeks before they fire them.
That's right.
Okay, so that ends up being bad, and they both have a bad taste from it. But the DSOs have the answer for everything.
You can stay on and be changing.
Yes,
that for
I
years,
mean,
years,
now
years.
they're going to give you, look, the value is twice what I could sell it for. That's what they told me.
Sure.
And said, and they're going to give me a bunch of money up front, about maybe 40 or 50% of what the practice is worth. But this is the cool thing. They're not like normal, money grubbing, people like that. They're going to partner with me. And, we're going to find, someone else to pay.
They're going to be a silent partner.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
But we're going to help you with your staff. We're going to help you with the marketing and help you like that. And he said, the neat thing about this is that in 2 or 3 years, we're going to recapitalize, or we're going to find a seller. And, and I'm sitting here going, okay, I'm talking to a doctor that's really lit up with the DSO deal. And I'm going, okay. I put a piece of paper and said, this is a solo practice. This is $2,100,000 a year. Had 6 DSOs make offers. They valued the value. They were all different.
What's that about?
Yeah, I mean, I thought EBITDA was a formula.
Right.
And then the EBITDA numbers, the E in EBITDA, were all different. I mean, like 200% difference in some of these. And then the money at closing so much. But down here where myths and dreams and stuff live, they're going to find somebody. Now, they paid you really probably 50, 60% more than you could get from an independent buyer. Okay, so they're paying you more than your practice is really worth in the marketplace. But y'all are going to partner, and you're not going to have to do much now. You just have to show up. And 2 or 3 years, they're going to find somebody that's going to pay them and you 7 times what they paid 50% more than it was worth. So how does that greater fool thing work? And most of these DSOs haven't made it through one economic financial cycle.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And most of them, their equity partners, our banks, think that we're dealing with widgets and not in relationships, and that there's always going to be buyers for them. So I think this is really crazy out here. And I mean, doctors have all of this. They've never had all these options.
All these options on the table. Right.
Yeah. And they all sound good when you're drowning.
Yeah.
Okay. And someone drops, a life jacket. Someone is swimming towards you, but they're not there yet. And then the DSOs pull up in a yacht and go, "Would you like some tea and crumpets and come on board?" Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So what do you say to these doctors?
Well, I'm with you. I just don't think for most of them, especially at the younger age, the DSO is good. Maybe in older age, if they want to stay on and they're okay with that, okay, that's a different story. But I think the younger ones, there's some big problems with it, and we'll see those play out over the next several years. I mean, the next several years we'll see those play out where a lot of the DSOs aren't going to make it. The headwinds will be there. Well, it's happening right now in the marketplace.
I've seen 6 go under in the last 4 months.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. I think once you give up control of something, you better be in a position where you could just completely walk away from it. If you're not in that position financially, mindset wise, to say whatever I got on the front end, I can just walk away tomorrow and be okay, then it's going to be problematic. So if you're still banking on this DSO quote partnership to run its course and be happy all the way through, if you're banking on that, I just think that's where it could be trouble.
Okay, I got a question.
Makes sense? Okay.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Okay, so if you have the money, okay, so that these attorneys will use words that have a specific definition. But when you and I are talking, enough money isn't specific enough for me.
Yeah.
Okay, now, and everybody's going to be different, right? Because they have different life challenges, and you have your daughter that you want to help support. They're younger, so they've got longer lifespan, all that stuff. So, what is that number where that I could feel financially secure? I mean, what? Help me understand that.
You're talking about like an accumulation number, a total number of nest egg and equity, or
Wait, no. Well, and that's true too. I don't know, kind of a freedom number. I mean, just like, I mean, what would give me the opportunity to feel confident that regardless of the economic downturns, whoever's going to be president or whatever bad things are happening at the time, I could feel as confident as you could feel that finances won't be what brings me down. I mean, it could be health, it could be divorces, it could be something, but it's not going to be just that. So,
well, I use conservative numbers in the way I look at my own finances. I can be as active as I want to be because I have, like you have, I've over years created a network of, let's say, network of opportunities.
Okay.
So opportunities come to me just like they come to you. People call you, banks call you. You got the same thing. I've got a little bit different. It's more on the real estate side, but I have opportunities that come to me, and I know that there's a benchmark going through multiple cycles over 40 plus years that I can hit a return rate with a certain amount of activity. By activity, I'm just talking about being involved in putting deal structures together.
Okay, but your opportunities that you get,
yes.
I mean, for example, I get opportunities in buying practices that you couldn't find.
That's right, because you build a network.
Yeah, well, and sometimes by accident, by doing it wrong or doing it right, they gravitate towards you. But your opportunities that you're talking about are opportunities that 90% of the people that have that type of opportunity, that group of opportunities, that's not the opportunity you're talking about. You have something different. I mean, the people that you find, that you work with, have a pretty big hurdle to get over for you to assume that they are an opportunity. I might look at something lesser and think, there's an opportunity. So,
well, it like anything, it comes with time in the market and experience, and getting beat up a little bit here and there on smaller investment opportunities. You learn as you go, right? And so I do in Freedom Founders what I want to do for myself. I still want to manage my money and be prudent about that and have a legacy. So how do I manage that when I know we're going through market cycles? I have to know, since I don't want to go do the work myself. I don't want to go in and build and construct and manage and do all kinds of real estate. I want to do that through other people. So the point is, you've got to find who are the right people. When it's my money and I'm doing my stuff, I've got enough people where I know who they are, and I can look at those deals very easily, those investment opportunities, call them deals, and I can say, that's good, that's good, that's good. When it's come to Freedom Founders, obviously this is scaled up to try to bring opportunities to a larger group. Well, the responsibility burden increases tremendously, because even though I'm not a fiduciary, I can't guarantee any returns. I feel a responsibility to bring the same level of discernment and underwriting, vetting that I would want for myself, because I invest the same way. So the hurdles, yes, to be able to bring opportunities to our group are significant, and they've grown even more significant over the last couple of years as we've gained more experience in doing things in investments as a community, as a leveraged community, leveraging the strength of our group that a solo person couldn't do. I can bring opportunities to our group that I couldn't get myself because I don't have that much capital. No one's interested in David Phelps if I've got $100,000 to put in, but if there's several $1 million because other people will go in, well, now we can attract stronger players, stronger operators in the marketplace. And I think that's what gives us, myself and everybody else, a big advantage, is we have more to look at, and we have the strength to do deeper vetting, deeper underwriting that a single person, an individual investor, couldn't do.
But in Freedom Founders, I think this. Have you ever seen? I've gotten where I get addicted right before I go to bed. I'll look at these Facebook shorts, just a little video deals like it, and they have this little baby there that's never been able to see, and I'm sure everything looks you see shadows and,
Yeah.
you see the light, but never really the details of the mom's face. And they go like this, and the kid's trying to get the glasses off and goes
All of a
like
sudden,
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, what I found interesting, and this is an outsider looking at this, right? I mean, when you started, I'm going, oh, okay. It's almost like you're putting the glasses on so people can understand the opportunities that you're introducing them to. I mean, granted, you have all this higher level clearance and everything that you do to find the right type of people that can bring the right kind of opportunities. But because you test people and train them and teach them, it's like you give them a set of glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after 40 years of dentistry, my glasses work pretty damn well.
Right.
Okay, when I first started out, it was like,
Yeah.
what, not so good, I thought that was amazing in your group. And I'll tell you the other thing, and I don't think you have ever said this to anybody, and I think it's a mistake not to, is that for a lot of these doctors, when you first started out, they were older doctors. Okay, now I don't know what old is, but they're probably late 50s, early 60s, and maybe not 50% of them, but there was a large percentage that didn't feel like they could ever retire. Okay, and then you put those glasses on, and they realized that they finally understood. Okay, it's not like you having $2 million in the bank that's spinning out 5% a year, and you're only getting, X number of dollars from that, as opposed to an asset
Right.
that maybe is worth less than that, is giving you a higher rate of return indefinitely.
Right.
And that you could pass this on. But the neatest thing, and this was me smiling, because a lot of those first doctors, like you and I, there weren't many females in dental school. So they're mainly male doctors. So I don't want to make this sound like I'm being, I'm not including females in it. But I think for the first time, a lot of the spouses actually got to sit next to the person they married and start sharing their dreams again and visions, and that they were both all in, and they wanted to learn everything that he learned. And I think what I liked about it is it made me smile, because I haven't done this with my wife like that. I just give her all my money, and she gives me $20 a week to spend any way I want to. Okay, but I thought that was really interesting, because I saw the couples get closer together, and I think as dentists, we kind of isolate ourselves as far as friends. I mean, we go play tennis with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard for us to make social friends because we're busy trying to make a living.
That's right.
It created a cohesive group of people that are all thinking the same. They all knew that they struggled in some ways. None of them had really planned for the future as well as they had hoped, and they all saw that they were on the right track, and it's really created this great group. Now, with the younger doctors, you may even save some marriages. I mean, I think these 40-year-olds, when they start getting involved with their spouses and stuff, and it's going to make a huge, huge difference. And I think that I sit there and smile when I see these people. Well, because I've sent a bunch of people in there, and I wish I could tell. They were probably 6 months away from divorce. They already talked about stuff like that, and they're not going to divorce anymore. They all just kind of reset the dial, looked at everything different, removed finances from the table. That's not going to be a problem. And then started working on, enjoying the rest of their life. So that's great.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's something that I didn't see as that was going to be part of what our group was going to be able to do well early on. Didn't see that at all. In fact, we didn't even focus on that. It was mostly a single doc.
Yeah.
The primary breadwinner would come to our meetings, and the spouse would stay at home. And gradually over time, we started to see where the ones who did bring their spouse, that there was this connection. And it was very granular at first, but we've really focused on that. And you're right. I think look, we all go through this. I know in my own marriage is that if Candace and I don't have some meetings in the minds, because we're both driven by different things.
Real different.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah, real different.
I've seen
Extremely
there.
different. You know
I
that.
sit back there and listen to you speak, and have her sitting beside, and she'll be saying, and then when she gets up there, It's like
It's totally different.
You know, you'll start saying, "Shh,
just,
I'm speaking."
just a minute. Just
Okay,
a minute.
just a minute.
I've
She
got the
is
floor.
really, and she's of the two, she's probably more intelligent.
She is definitely more intelligent.
Now, I want to thank you. One other thing too, you allowed me to bring my son. Okay, so it wasn't just the spouses, but you take. Now my son's 40. He's not young, but there were young people there. I just remember, I don't think my son has ever seen me talk to a group. And Connie, my wife, goes, he said, he really listened to everything Dave and stuff said. He said, but he said this, he goes, they asked Dad a question and he answered it just like that. Because they don't see you that way.
Right.
And so I think that's going to make generational legacy, because with the type of investments we're talking about, this real estate and stuff, some of it gets paid off and it just keeps spending out money, could be passed to survivors in a death or disability or multifamily. I mean, it could really create a legacy that you've never considered being able to pass that on. But I think the kids being involved, it's like being invited to a grown-up meeting, as if they look at you like, you can learn this.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, I saw those kids, they came up to and talked to me, they were going, wow, this is really neat, you know, blah, 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 blah. That's really nice. You need to keep that up. That's a huge gift. So
It's become much more of a purpose, and I think to tack on to what you just mentioned about, you know, a legacy and financial sustainability.
Right.
You and I both know who I'm speaking about. We won't mention names here, but one of my classmates passed away
Yes.
2 years ago in COVID.
Right.
And you jumped right in and helped his spouse, wonderful lady, you know, with the practice sale, and made that transition work beautifully. Then the other side is, now how does she manage what she's left with to take her through the rest of her life now that the primary breadwinner is gone,
Right.
the practice is no more, and it was probably meant to be still in place for who knows how many more years. Allowing her to come in, because he and I sat side by side all the way through class, and you know what those bonds are like when
Yep.
it's a fraternity. It's just like, you know, you're in the trenches with somebody that you better get to know and like, and
Right.
to be able to do something, you know, some 40 years later,
Right.
to help him carry on his legacy in absentia.
Right.
And he's got, you know, 2 sons and grandkids.
And they were grown, and so
Yes.
the kids
the
were
kids, the kids are grown, but they're still there supporting mom, and
Yes.
and it was a great thing to have a place, a community that I could see them come in and see the stress come off of
Right.
her face, and know that she's with people that understand her. You know, she's been in dentistry all her life, and
she's a hygienist.
she's a hygienist, and these people just embraced her, and here she is with her 2 young sons, and they're saying, hey, Mom, we can do this, we can navigate this, we've got people around us, and that's the best in the world, to see something like
It's
that.
kind of like an Acts 2 elder for widows and orphans. I mean, it is a gift that she's never had to deal with that financial side. Right. And at her worst possible moment, you stepped up and allowed her access to a future. So kudos to you.
And many of the couples say that today, even though everything's good today. Well, what happens if he or she, which will someday, right. It will happen to all of us. And to know that you've got some new educational frameworks, you've got some support, you've got a community of people around you that you could use as a backdrop to help navigate whatever those tough decisions are. It comes back to who you know in life, and
right.
and we both talked about that going back to our early years, who we met that were influential in our lives to open doors for us, and how important that is not to be a typical dentist who we just so dug in with the loops on day after day, and we're
right.
here in a microcosm, and we never have a chance to pull our head up and go, what's out here that could actually help me live a life of more fulfillment than all my technical skills that I've worked so hard on to get really good at here, but it doesn't really expand out here. Well, Mike, we've talked a lot today about people that have empowered us and inspired us to live a better life, because we only know so much as we go through life and
right.
get educated. And I just want to thank you from my standpoint personally, but also I think as a larger community, not just Freedom Founders, I'm talking about the community of dentistry, because your influence and your commitment to help others has been your entire lifespan. You are a servant. I know that's in your heart, not only with your own practice, leading as you have done in the years that you were there, very instrumental in staff and patients and the associates partners you had. The leadership is just, it just ensues from you. But I just want to thank you for helping me with a major turning point in my career and with the practice that I had to take back and revamp and restructure and re-exit. You were extremely significant in that, and I don't know if I've told you that in so many words, but I just want you to know that you did that for me, and I'm sure you've done that for countless other people. You make a big difference.
Well, thank you.
And you're a very humble person. You never take money from anybody. We can only help you with donations for other causes that you always engender that. Yeah. But people always ask me, "Hey, David, Mike spent an hour and a half with me on a call and helped me do this and this. What do I get him?" Yeah. I go, "Well, that's a tough one. So ask him who he wants to help, and that might be a way to go." In
a way, if you try to help people, they try to pay you for it. You're robbing you of the joy that gives me. It's not like I want to do that, and I don't need the money. And so I tell everybody, look, I may call you someday, and I've got a missionary that I'm going to have kids, presents for the kids for Christmas, and right. Could you send them $100? And I won't check up on you, nothing, just But I've called a couple of people and done that, but normally I don't call them. So anyway, well, thanks for having me. Yeah. I appreciate it.
It's great to catch up. Great to go back in time. This is the stuff that's fun to do, and we'll continue to carry on. Expiration date. I think it's still ways out.
Yeah. All right. Use before dates.
Yeah.
Yes.
Use before date. I think it's still ways out.
Use before date. Well, I'm ready. Whatever happens, I'm ready. But I want to be busy up to that point. Because I think on a tombstone you have that born on and that use before date, but your life is that dash.
That's it.
And so people talk about the dash. So think about that while these people are trying to make decisions about their financial future. Think about that dash. What are you going to do with the time, money, opportunities, and money that you have, the legacy that you want to create. So thanks a lot.
Well said. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, David, back again. I hope that you enjoyed the conversations this last 2 weeks with Dr. Mike Abernathy. Mike has been a longtime friend of mine, a colleague, a mentor to myself and to many people. These are the kind of people we need to keep in our inner circle. The people that provide us insight, provide us accountability, provide us really the ability to find the clarity we need to travel our own path, not follow the path of somebody else, but follow our own path. But these are some of the mavericks that I have found over my life that have really inspired me, and I hope that they inspire you as well.